I haven't worn my Confederate rebel flag in like months
Yeah.
because I was out for at
Oh,
least 3 months.
yeah.
And then before that, I don't know how long it had been. And I'm like, what better day than MLK Day?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Isn't it supposed to be Lee Jackson Day around here somewhere? Maybe that's President's Day.
Uh,
Robert E. Lee and Stonewall
when did they
Jackson.
put that? I don't know about that
I'll
one.
have to look that up.
Yeah.
My resident historians with over on Odyssey can tell us maybe Lee Jackson Day. Uh, January 19th,
Uh,
1807. Okay,
okay.
interesting.
Yeah.
So it's right around here.
Mm-hmm.
January 15th and 16th. Lee Jackson Day. Nice. So it's right on time. That's cool.
Right on time.
And I didn't even know it because Hake is pretty ignorant, but we love the beautiful South. So let's get right into this stuff. It is MLK Day, guys. That's Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Michael.
Michael King. That's right. That's his born name. Tell us about you had some MLK points that you wanted to point out.
Yeah. I
And we
did.
have some like screenshots. Well, I screenshotted some of the articles that you sent, and you sent some pictures
Is
too.
there anything specific that you've seen that
Uh,
you wanted to start with?
well, the first thing you sent me was the
Uh,
autobiography of
yeah.
religious development. Was that written by
Yeah,
MLK?
those were essays. That was one specific essay that he wrote at seminary school, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And it was him writing back home. Well, it was a base like formulated around. It seemed like him writing to his mother,
Okay.
and that's where there's multiple
Yeah.
papers like essays, and then letters back home, letters to his sister, letters to just family in general. And that was the first thing that I did send you about the proof of him being a communist or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So
And you said he was one for sure by his own admission.
for sure, by his own admission,
At what age
at
was he?
21,
21 years old.
The letter was the essay was written between September 1950 and November 1950. He was born in 29,
Okay.
and that would have made him 21. He, what did he do? So in the essay, in the first part, however he was writing it, he said, I was pretty much scarred when I was about 5 years old. I remember bread lines during the Depression.
Okay.
So he was
Don't we
traumatized.
all?
Right.
Don't we all? My grandparents, when they lived, they were very frugal and
Yeah.
thrifty,
Right.
saving stuff
Hmm.
and not pack rats, but just living very balanced lives. And
Right.
they lived long lives probably because of that.
Because of that. Right. Yeah. That would make sense. Yeah. So that supposedly to him, he said that memory brought anti-capitalistic feelings,
Wow.
and that shocked me. Because I've never seen actual proof
Yeah.
of it until like a week ago. It was just a week ago.
And he was 5 years old in the breadlines?
In the breadlines, he was 5. Is what
And he had anti-capitalistic feelings at 5,
I
or
don't know if he if it was at 5, but I guess him remembering that triggered
right?
that
Oh
those
yeah,
type of feelings. Yeah, yeah.
Because
So,
in your college years, you get angry,
right, yeah,
and then you think back, and then just adds emotions on top of
on
it,
top,
and
right,
false meaning to
right,
it. Interesting.
yeah. So that was my definite, like, when I know for sure Martin Luther King Jr. was a commie,
Uh-huh.
no doubt about it, and I'm sticking to that.
Yeah.
But,
Wow.
yeah, so that portion of what really got me, and also that he was, although he did say he loved his father, like that's what pretty much that example of his father got him into ministry,
Right.
but he was always in these letters, oh mommy,
Oh
oh
wow.
grandma, oh, this and that. I'm like, oh man, okay. So I see the extra passion and the anger and the I know and all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I know where that's coming from. He never mentioned that he specifically, other than his father wanting to and not forcing him to do it, but he never said anything about, you know, his mother called him to do it, and
Right.
so
So he wasn't one of those who was necessarily called by his mama.
not
You're
necessarily,
gonna be a preacher one
but
day.
I'm pretty sure she has something to do with
Yeah, it
it.
sounds like based on what you gave the impression that he was sort of a mama's boy and a grandma's boy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was another statement in there that he made about how his mother did the motherly duties, but man, like it came to me as that it she did was she did the motherly thing, but she could have been doing other things. That's what I read from it. It was like a little sentence that he wrote.
Like a career other things
Yeah,
or
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah. So
Wow, so he was a male feminist.
he was
We're reading way into it maybe, but
maybe
maybe not.
maybe not. I yeah, that was another thing that kind of touched 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 me to say, hey, this guy
Yeah.
was totally different from what he's we've been told
You're right.
to believe or that's thrown out to us.
Well, communism and even this anti-racism is like a mama sort of woman
Mm,
thing.
right.
Being a liberal in general is a
Hmm.
woman thing.
Right. Right.
It's based on like feelings
Yeah.
and taking care of people.
Right.
He was all
Yeah.
about
That.
taking care of people.
Yeah. Yeah. He never wanted that to see again the breadline thing. He never wanted to see that again.
Right.
And
I wonder if it was really capitalism that brought those breadlines or if it was because socialism was kind of in place from, I don't know. We didn't really have real capitalism even
right.
back then, did we? Or am
Yeah.
I wrong?
I would say yes and no because well, that's 29 and 1913 was the Federal Reserve Act, so that
Uh-huh.
pretty much split
Yeah.
split it, gave you a difference between capitalism and communism, socialism. But it, in essence, it would be that would if it wasn't forced, if players weren't in place,
Yeah.
if that didn't happen, it's still if the players didn't make that happen, it could be a a end game of capitalism because in capitalism you basically it's free market. So if that was to happen,
Hmm.
if things didn't go right, that's what would happen.
Right.
And you would restructure and
And then people
come
would
back
just
up,
build up
yeah, and
again.
build up again.
Yeah.
That's what capitalism does. So although this wasn't really the case, the bankers got involved and
Right.
yeah, so um, yeah, it that's not the case. So capitalism really didn't have anything to do with the
Yeah.
depression itself. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
That's how I feel about people are trying to blame, capitalism, the housing crisis of
yeah.
2007, '08, or
Right,
whatever,
right.
and the different market bubble, whatever was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's partly because of the government meddling its
Right.
fingers
Yeah.
in the
Always dabbling. Yeah.
trying to sell every home to get every black family to own a home,
Yeah.
get everybody
I,
all kinds of mess.
i.e. Wells Fargo.
Right. Good point. That's funny, man. Uh, Interesting. Tell me about the Federal Reserve. This is kind of a side note. Tell me about how the Federal Reserve is not capitalism.
Federal Reserve is not capitalism.
Because you made that basically as a distinction. Well, we're basically socialism at that point.
Yes. Yeah.
Sounded
So
like.
that because it was more of a undercover, force by nature institution, basically that at the pretty much dead of the night in the Christmas time when everyone was out during the holidays, that bankers and the politicians
Was that Woodrow Wilson?
Woodrow Wilson
Oh.
was the president.
And he was not a good guy. He
Not
was
at
a
all.
socialist, communist.
Yeah. And signing over the Federal Reserve Act in 1913. I can't remember the exact date, December 1913 in Jekyll Island. And that in essence, is not capitalism. You're because our republic is based on the capitalism, that anything that's outside of that is democratic, socialist, Marxist type ideas and beliefs. So going outside and having the bankers come in and lobby and take over, pretty much take over the government financially, the financial aspect of it, and creating a monster that's just out of control.
What does the Federal Reserve do?
Nothing but print money over and over and over again.
Okay. And they're not. Does the government have any representatives, or are they appointed at all? Do they appoint anybody who controls the Federal Reserve at all? I heard that it's a private institution.
It's a private institution. The actual government entity that should be anything related to this type of work would be the Treasury Department.
Okay.
That's who can, through Congress approval, create and print the money.
Okay. But the Treasury is not doing that.
But the Treasury is not doing that. The Federal Reserve is the one that's...
And you said it was an act, so Congress was in on this.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
the
they
Senate.
signed it in the middle of, like I said, in the middle of the night.
So we can't just blame Wilson. There was a whole lot of
Oh,
commies.
no. There's definitely a lot
We're
of
a
commies.
corrupt
Yeah.
country.
Right, yeah. And that was 1913.
That we elected.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And I have heard that they set interest rates for loans.
I was about to say that was the next thing. They set the interest rates.
And what does that mean?
The
I
amount of-
kind of know what that means. So if you buy a house,
Yeah.
or you buy a car, or you have credit card debt,
Right.
they tell the loaning companies
Mhm. Depending on
the max or the minimum or what? They have to
the
charge at this rate?
minimum that they can charge, and they have to charge at that. That's
Oh,
the
okay.
minimum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they can just continue to rise. They can just keep setting it. And there's so many numbers involved that, like the quantitative easing type things, where it's so convoluted
Right.
sometimes that after my little novice knowing of things that I just hear the words and I'm like, oh, okay, I know, I kind of understand. But
Yeah. I've
yeah.
heard of quantitative easing. I forget what it is, but
yeah, when I hear it in context, then I'm like, yeah, I know what it is.
Yeah.
So they just continue to like I said, the interest rates, the printing money, they try to base it off of the market, which they're always playing with the market anyway. Even
Right.
with the stock market, they have a plunge protection team, so they know how to anything that's volatile, they'll boost it up if they need be, and try to base everything around. It's all like a facade, pretty much. Yeah,
Wow.
not pretty much. It's a facade.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that if somebody loses money or money is stolen or something, or people default on a loan,
Mm-hmm.
are banks like backed by something? Is there something that's backed by
what is that
guaranteed
called?
by the Federal Reserve, so they don't care if they lose?
Yeah,
if
some
they get
four-letter
screwed
word.
over. Sorry, kids.
It's like the banks itself, not the customers.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Because I was thinking the customer that FDIC or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I know the shareholders, the FDIC, they'll pay up to, if you lose something because of banks going under, your money is guaranteed to $250,000. So
Oh.
you're gonna lose if you're making way more, or if you have way more than that
In the
your
bank.
account. Yeah.
Okay.
The bankers, the banks themselves, all they have to do is just go to Congress and get a $700 billion bailout, or
Wow.
whatever.
Yeah.
And it continues. It happens all the time. Even when they're writing these bills, like the last budget, that was what 1 point something trillion. Is that what it was? That they're in there to be covered as well.
Uh-huh.
Whatever slush or whatever it is, they have portions of the bills also. So they're going to be covered mostly during
Do
those times.
people say that bankers select our politicians? Is that true?
I because again, my libertarian background.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they definitely do. The
And
bankers,
how do they do that?
because well,
What were you
way
about to
back.
say? Go ahead.
No, no, no.
Finish your.
I don't recall now.
Okay.
Since you stopped me. No, but I was gonna go way back when I think that was Waterloo between England and France, when the Rothschilds went back and said that England lost the battle.
Uh-huh.
That dipped everything. Rothschilds bought everything up as bankers, and so when they purchased everything. Now, when they realize the story gets back to England that they actually won, the Rothschilds are the bankers. Now they're the head of, all that British Empire.
The
basically.
Rothschilds basically own England.
Yes, they do own England.
Whoa. I thought it was the royal
The
family.
royal family, that's just a
Politically.
headstone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
And Waterloo, was that the Revolutionary War or nothing? It was something else. Does that have anything to do with America?
No. Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Because it was after that time frame. That was at 18. I can't recall exactly when this was. Late 1800s, if I'm not mistaken, or mid 1800s.
Right around the Civil War, either before or after?
I'm basing it around Napoleon's time frame, because that's who they were fought.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's where it started. So then at that point, they have the money. They're the bankers. They're the bankers. And they.
Are the Rothschilds Jewish too?
I think
do you know?
In name only.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they are.
They'll use it.
Because there are some who isn't there one that's not, like Rockefeller or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. They're not.
Right.
They're not.
Okay.
And the Rockefellers would be the American portion, or the American leg of the Rothschild dynasty. They have different factions throughout each continent or country.
So they're
wherever.
friends. They're kind of
Oh yeah.
They're teammates.
Yeah. It would be like Soros having someone here and there,
Right.
In every area, doing that type of bidding. But yeah, so the bankers are pretty much the ones, they have so much authority pretty much over any country, really. But
Right.
in America, the bankers those are the doers.
How do they select the candidates? Like, did they want Trump in?
I wouldn't think so. I don't know. I'll say maybe yes, because how good things would be under Trump. They know that he would be
helping the economy function properly.
They would know that. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
They know exactly from his previous.
But they don't seem to mind all of the destruction of the economy.
Not at all, because now they can. And honestly, they can make more money. Also, they can benefit from it.
They can make money in any
They
times.
make because they also fund the wars. How they fund both sides of the war.
I've heard that.
Good. Yeah.
I've heard that World War II was like a boom or boon or something like for the economy. I don't know if it was because women working or because they started pumping in all this money to manufacture major weapons and inventions and stuff like that.
Yeah, it would have been.
It's so weird because that's you're funding stuff to create in order to destroy stuff. How does that make money?
because you have to, if you're destroying whoever you're destroying, that area, that place, that country has to come back to the bankers to build back up.
So they need loans.
They're going to
from the
need
banks.
loans. They're going to need that support somehow. And
Okay.
they're going to have to go back to the bankers. The bankers are going to come in. All these different IMFs and
They'll be like
all the
do-gooders
things.
type
Oh, yeah.
people sometimes.
Yeah. In any form.
Yeah.
And it's related back to the banks. That's the only, because the country or whoever were destroyed, clearly they didn't have enough to do what they needed to do, or no power whatsoever, that they would have been able to print their money just like in America, just money just being printed frivolously.
Yeah.
That they have to go to someone, and the bankers are right there, ready, willing and ready.
So they take advantage and get this like worldly sort of power and worldly sort of value, because it's not even real money at that point, or it's by custom. It's allowed to be money.
Yeah,
because everybody agrees that it's money.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it's it's the total opposite in what it should be. Because have you ever? And it's a meme going around also, and it's real, on the Monopoly game, where it says when the money is, I think it's specifically when all money is gone, you're supposed to stop the game, not play anymore. I think that's what it is. I don't think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
But where you, instead of keep making money, keep making money over and over again. I think that's what it says. Yeah, the IOUs and things like that. Yeah. So you go back and you're going into debt. But I think it just, whenever there's no more money, just stop.
In the game of Monopoly.
So I think it's rule number 11. It's the very, very last rule.
Wow.
Yeah.
The 11th commandment. Wow.
Yeah. So, and then also I'll take that, the banker thing, going back to Jesus whipping the money changers. And that's, the money changers would be the bankers.
And he did that because they were in the temple.
In the temple, right.
And so they were like taking advantage. Hey, buy this bird to sacrifice. And money changers. That means changing out, because people were from other countries were,
I guess it would be
having to
come around to barter or things like that. Also, is that how you're saying it? Yeah.
I think they had to convert the currency. Did they have to? Is that what money changers means? I don't know what they mean by money changers.
I guess I always took it as just the exchange of hands, of the money from hand to hand. I don't know if they specifically had an exchange rate or something like that.
What did Jesus say? He said, "My house is supposed to be something of prayer." But you've turned it into a den of thieves, den of robbers,
den of something. Because I get confused with, I think Andrew Jackson said something about a den of vipers. So I always
you brood of vipers.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Cleansing of the temple. We're gonna cover this, guys, and then we'll get to your calls. Hang tight. We got to get this quote right from Jesus. Clearing of the money. Cleansing of the temple, according to Wikipedia. Yes, I'm going to Wikipedia for the Bible. Matthew 21, Mark 11, Luke 19, John 2. It's covered in all four of the Gospels. Jesus went into the temple of God and cast all them that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers. Okay, so both. The seats of them that sold doves. And he said unto them, it is written, my house shall be called the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves. And so just selling stuff, he's calling them thieves, though. Interesting.
Yeah, see?
So was he a communist? Or was he a capitalist? I heard that capitalism is a stepping stone to communism, but we can get to that later. But we got to get this straight with Jesus. A house, John 2 calls it a house of merchandise, but he called it a den of thieves in Matthew. Matthew was the Jew, and he called it den of thieves, so Matthew knew what was going on. I guess they're all Jews, but Matthew was smart, I think, I heard.
Huh. Okay. So hold on. Repeat what Jesus said.
It is written, "My house shall be called the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves."
Yeah. I just, yeah. I guess it just the just the aspect of, I guess that's more of the but I don't know what they were doing specifically
Right.
there.
Well, he said, "Overthrew the tables of the money changers,
Right.
cast out all them that sold and bought in the
Okay.
temple." So they're buying and selling, and then whatever money changers
Right.
is.
So I guess the temple
He
shouldn't be
drove them
anything.
out, and the sheep and the oxen.
Mm-hmm.
So they were selling sheep and oxen to sacrifice, I guess. In the temple, they were still making sacrifices because it was still the Old Testament,
Right. Okay.
kind of.
That's it. I never went into detail on that.
Right.
I just know that. Get them out of
But
there.
I know that I've bought stuff. Sometimes I felt robbed. Like I bought a car. I bought a used car about 11 years ago.
But that's you.
Right.
With the-
And it wasn't in a temple. It was
Right,
not far
yeah,
out of Temple City.
yeah.
But it,
Wasn't in the temple though.
it was Toyota Pasadena. And I ended up having to do a sign. I got screwed by Toyota Pasadena
Oh.
because I didn't read it. I just signed it.
Yeah.
And they sold me a car alarm that I didn't want.
Yeah.
I didn't want it.
Yeah.
And they sold it to me, and I signed for it. And I knew it. I knew that, you know, when you sign for something, you don't read it. You get what you pay for. But
Right.
I didn't want it. And so I got that $700 back, and they took it out of my car. I thought it was going off. It was actually my neighbor's car going off in the
No.
middle of the night by accident. I'm like, I don't like car alarms. Now I may or may not have a car alarm. But, yeah, it was almost 12 years ago, actually. And then there was something else. Like, when I braked, the rotors were kind of already messed up because it already had, like, almost 70,000 miles on it.
Oh,
And it
okay.
would the steering wheel would shake when you brake at high speed. I'm like, I didn't drive it like this. It was like this even before when the guy test drove it with me.
Right.
It was stick shift. I'm
Oh,
like,
okay. Okay.
but anyway, they fixed that too. I threatened to bring the sign again.
Wow.
The sign
The
inspiration
sign.
was from JLP because he's
Oh, okay.
boycotted
Right.
all state before.
Right. Okay. Okay.
But yeah, I did feel robbed. So maybe like some people do feel robbed, and back then, I don't know.
Yeah. I just
It was
now
hard times.
starting to see that the temple, just the fact that it was the temple.
Yeah,
That's just it.
that's supposed to be selling stuff in.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always heard like people like in the South where I was at that, you know, they'll have individuals come in to churches to like perform or something like that. And
Yeah.
them never ask for money, or you never paid to have anything done at the church itself.
Uh-huh.
That everything would have to be more of, they call a love offering.
Right.
So it's just from the heart or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So I guess that's where that comes from in a sense. But that's the only thing I can come up with, that just because it's the temple.
Right.
Uh,
It's a time and place for your thievery and merchandise.
Basically, yes, yes.
Well, I appreciate that. Anything else you wanted to comment on that? Would the bankers have supported? Did the bankers support the so-called civil rights movement?
Yes, I would say yes.
The media
They don't
definitely
even-
did.
right.
The phony politicians, some did, for
It's,
sure.
You know, when we say we don't have an opinion about anything, they don't care about that.
Right.
It's about the money.
Yeah.
And
So the government,
the power.
The
with money.
bankers, if you will, were fine either way.
Either way, yeah, they knew they would come out on top no matter what.
I saw that banks individually did support the gay thing and Black Lives Matter. You'll see them like Chase Bank on the ATM
Yeah.
thing. It'll say Pride something
right.
something. And it was doing that years ago.
Yeah.
Before it was even really widespread. Maybe it was after the Supreme Court made their thing.
Oh, okay, right.
But
they would be the trendsetters anyway.
Right.
They would set that culture type.
or jump on the trend
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. If someone comes up with an idea, they'll hop right on it and
Yeah.
fund it somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it's disgusting.
Yeah. It's
But
a mess.
MLK was controversial. He was not liked by everybody,
No,
for
he
sure.
wasn't. Oh no,
Yeah.
not at all. Yeah, he was like I guess I have to use Trump as an example. People liked Trump before,
Right.
but now he's more controversial than ever, and that's how I don't see MLK on that level,
Mm-hmm.
but in that vein, in
Yeah.
essence, yeah.
Was the media against him though? Because the media is against Trump. Was the media against
I don't believe
MLK?
so. I don't believe so. I haven't come across that to see if
Right.
that was the case or not. How they treated him, how they responded to certain things, how he responded in essays or letters or anything at the time.
Yeah.
But nah, I'm not sure. I'm not
Okay.
sure about that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if they boosted him up somehow.
Right.
You know,
I
but I
remember
don't know.
seeing. I played an MLK clip a week or two ago from an NBC, where they're all, "Is it just because you're black?" And he's all,
Oh, right. He was in
and
the
he talked
church
about
sitting
how,
around.
yeah,
Yeah.
he said, "How come all these immigrants and others do
Mm.
quite well, but the blacks just can't make it? What's wrong with the blacks?"
What's wrong with that?
And he's all, the black people have been stigmatized because of their color.
Right,
And I don't know if that's exactly true.
right.
And you know what? I used to like his statement, like, who could disagree with
Right.
judging based on, that communist written. I heard it was communist written, according to JLP guest. Did you hear Chad
I missed
Jackson?
it. I was still asleep, getting ready to get up and
Okay.
get out of the house. Yeah.
Because JLP interviewed Chad O. Jackson on
That's
the show.
Uncle Tom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Uncle
yeah.
Tom,
Okay.
too.
Right.
He was on in the second hour, I believe.
Okay.
And he pointed out that the I Have a Dream speech was not written by him, but by communists,
Okay.
including like this Jewish guy, I think, and some of these others,
I
maybe
wouldn't-
multiple.
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
But it was clever communists just using, like I've pointed out before, they just use what's in vogue to be popular at the moment, which was Christianity and
Yeah.
different things. And so they use that and then put in also their communist stuff, which is
Yeah.
what Obama and all these people
Right.
do.
Right.
In fact, Christianity is so subverted in the black church
Yeah.
and the white church
Yeah.
and everywhere.
Right.
I don't know if there is a white church, but in the normal church, yeah, it's terrible. But now I see it as a slap in the face. I see it almost on the level of Black Lives Matter. Because, the phrase Black Lives Matter is a slap in the face because it's accusing whites of not knowing that. And
Right.
same thing with the little black boys will be judged by the content of their character, not
right.
the color of their skin. But I think that even the beautiful South, they were judged by the content of their character.
Right.
They were just separated by the color of their skin,
Yeah.
but judged according to how they were. So it was also a slap in the face because people were more about character back then, before the civil rights, than now.
Then now, right.
Thanks
yeah.
to him.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think he's misjudging the hearts of the Southerners who are for the segregation, I think.
So he was also, there was a story, and I think I've heard this one before, about his little white friend that he had at the time when he was about 5, 6, 7,
Okay.
growing up. And supposedly they would play every day until 6 o'clock at night in the evening. And there was one day he didn't come out to play.
The
His
white
father,
kid?
Yeah. His father owned, I guess, a store in front of their house. And supposedly he couldn't come play again because the color of Martin's skin or something, like in that, how it was phrased.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Where was he raised?
Either Birmingham or Atlanta.
Okay. I know Atlanta is where that church is that he
Yeah,
so-called pastored.
yeah.
Born in Atlanta.
Okay. I don't know why I wanted Birmingham to be.
Assassinated in Memphis. I know he wrote a letter from a jail in Birmingham.
Right. Okay.
Don't know where he was raised though.
Yeah.
Doesn't really say. Early childhood.
I want to say, I think he was in Atlanta that time.
You might be right.
But yeah, that story, that's another traumatic experience that he had that, made him, it seemed to make him, that, that fire, whatever fire it is that he had in him that wasn't.
So the commies used that resentment from his childhood
Yeah.
to give that black boys and white boys will be playing together.
Exactly. That's exactly the point I'm getting at. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, that's so mama.
It's so mama.
Because this stuff was already naturally happening, according to Chad Jackson.
Right.
That they were coming together, but naturally. And they were separating, but naturally. And it wasn't this forced
Right.
integration stuff.
Yeah. They could have just easily let it be, and it would have just, and probably not probably, for the betterment, like real betterment, because
Right.
look what's going on now. It would have been a natural evolution.
Right.
To the integration, if instead of forcing that the integration, just naturally letting it happen and see, hey, yeah, I do want to hang out with those guys, or
Right.
nah, I'll continue to stay over here and mind my own. Yeah.
What's interesting is that people make the best of their situation. And so, like, when we have, like, a bad president like Obama, or we have, like, Obamacare, or we have forced integration, people make the best of it.
Yeah.
And so, like, they thrive not because of it, but in spite of it.
Right.
And so, like, when, say, I have some of my best friends, Asians and Mexicans, because I had no other choice.
Right.
And my parents didn't either, and they were dumb enough, well, whatever. I mean, they fell for the civil rights stuff a little bit, at least. They were propagandized. They were raised in that world.
Right.
And so people are like, oh, Obamacare, healthcare, it saved lives, because that's the job of the people who are doing the healthcare,
Right.
to save lives.
Yeah, that's
and
what they're
stuff like
supposed
that.
to do.
And so they're pretending that Obamacare saved my life, or oh, I got my best friend because of forced integration, or all these different things. The communists take credit for good stuff that happens, but when they do evil,
Yeah.
what a mess.
They don't allow or don't understand the circumstantial portion of it.
Right.
That's what you deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, business owners, well, like us, when we get censored, we kind of improve because we're forced to improve by the hardship of the censorship. Like, we go into Rumble and we kind of expand. And, when we're not allowed to say certain words, we get creative with how we say different things.
Right.
Like, when you're given restriction, it does kind of improve you. But that's not, like, doesn't make the censorship right, or the communism right.
Yeah.
What a mess.
Just roll with the punches.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I guess, but that's a way that I guess God takes care of his children even in the evil time, so we don't have to fret about the mess.
Yeah. Right.
Hake, the Federal Reserve is responsible for your shirt, says Frederick. Frederick was on the line for a second. He wanted to talk about the Federal Reserve, but he dropped off.
He likes to talk about that.
Right.
Yeah. I've noticed that.
Let's read some super chats. I have to read them. I didn't get to super chats on Friday, so I got to read some of these.
Right on.
And then we'll get to some calls and get back to more stories. Big Bump brought a few stories, including the Black Dylan Roof. Who did he kill? He killed MLK's mom?
He killed MLK's mother, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I had never heard about this story. So we'll talk about that in a second, guys. But Soul Conscious says, love your shirt, Hake. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I got it off Amazon right before, maybe 1 week before the artist stopped selling it. And Amazon banned everything. Because it was around the Dylan Roof times.
Yeah.
And everybody was Ta-Nehisi Coates. who's that black writer propped up between the
Definitely.
world and me,
Yeah.
propped up by the Atlantic and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly a good writer. He might be, but I've never read his stuff really.
Me either.
But he said, let's get rid of the Confederate flag because Dylan Roof wanted to. He flew the Confederate flag and what's that R word? Rhodesian flag.
Oh,
Is that in
okay,
Africa
okay.
somewhere?
Yeah,
But it's a
yeah.
white country.
Yeah.
And all these other,
Tanzania. Wait, Zimbabwe? Rhodesia? Anyway, go ahead.
One
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah, one of those, yeah.
one of those white countries that
Right,
was subverted. And so I got it, and then it came, and then JLP's like, get me one. And so I went to order one, and it was banned.
Yeah.
Because Amazon banned everything Confederate. So evil.